Okay, so here we are, playthrough time. We shall be using the Vassal module. Hopefully sometime in the future we might have some live playthrough. For now we are playing through Vassal. And our opponent is Jules Felisaz, if I'm not mispronouncing the name. He's a French guy, a very cool guy and a very solid Empire of the Sun player. Turns out he's also a game designer of 1848, Springtime of Nations. More about that later. And we shall be looking at an amazing game we had together at Empire of the Sun. I will be the allies and he will be the Japanese. So the Vassal module has got some real cool features, like you can see the zones of influence here. This is Japanese zone of influence, this is allied zones of influence, and where these two intersect, this is neutralized zone of influence for both. Now these pink units are out of supply, so they do not have any zone of influence, as you can see. So we are playing the 1942 scenario starting on turn 2, which means all of the 1941 moves have been completed, and as the allies we are in some real trouble early on. Right here, MacArthur of the Southwest Pacific is surrounded at the Philippines, and there is only this zone of influence that is holding his supply for now, and he's doomed to be falling out of supply soon. Also Malaya is in some precarious positions, and we have also got to protect the Dutch East Indies. Now in the 1942 scenario, two things may happen early. For the Japanese, if you have drawn no military events like these ones, the black ones, then you can discard a 3 OC value card of yours to draw Vice Admiral Kondo, which is not the case in this game. Our Japanese opponent has drawn a military event. And as the allied player, first of all, you can, if you want, optionally draw the Arcadia Conference card, and also optionally you can use it right before the Japanese first move to place the Abda headquarters on the map, which I did in this game. I have used the Arcadia Conference to place the Abda headquarters at Shilashap, the island of Java. And you can also do some emergency naval movement with all your naval units before the Japanese make their first move. We shall be doing that shortly. Now as for the Abda placement, okay, there are pros and cons in doing so. First of all, if you do not place Abda right away, then these one units, the Dutch ones, are out of supply because there is no zone headquarters to activate them. So there is no zone of influence for this one aeroplane, which means all of this is without a Zoe. In that case, the Japanese can very easily land at Surabaya or Batavia or Teluk Betung, and possibly the Abda headquarters will not even be able to land later on. Now, the cons of placing the Abda right away is that the Japanese can then focus on it and target it. I mean, placing some zones of influence here and there and rendering it out of supply if they manage to delete this air force. And also they will be able to conduct the first and last card play. I mean, Japanese start with 7 cards in hand in the first turn of the scenario, and the allies start with, in this case, 2 passes and 5 cards. So if you don't play Arcadia Conference before the Japanese make their move, then probably you will have the last card play, the 7th one. And this might mean some really nasty plays, like for example War in Europe played last and making this marker rise up to here. And in that case you will be enjoying all of the turn 2 and turn 3 reinforcements at the same time, both the normal ones and the delayed ones from turn 2, which is huge for the allies early on. Now the other con of placing the Abda right away is that the Japanese can do the very last card play, which can be a surprise attack like for example Lieutenant Colonel Chuji, and they can possibly land at Batavia and walk down to Shilashap and destroy all your ground units and take the Abda off game very early on, for example. Anyway, in this game I chose to place it. My hand is not that great. I mean, I've got some surprise card, which is cool, but I currently do not have the naval power to make some value out of it and surprise the Japanese. And I've also got some military events which are all but useless early on. I do not have military forces to play with. The China offensive also is of no effect right now. So what you actually want as the Allies early on is political events like yellow cards that, for example, cause some inter-service rivalry to the Japanese, or for example Operation Vengeance, which kills Yamamoto of the Combined Fleet. Like, these are the cards that you want to see early on as the Allies, and later on you want to see the big military events to make your pushback and counter-attack. As the Japanese, in the other hand, you want the big military events early on, where you want to make progress and conquer territory, and save the political event or reaction cards for later on in the game. So in this case, once more, not a great hand for the Allies. Now, since we placed the Abda, we can also make our emergency naval movements, which we did in this game. So let's have a look at how this goes. First of all, we are moving this Dutch naval unit from Felisaz to Surabaya, because we want to prevent an easy landing on Surabaya. This is both a resource location for the Japanese and a foothold from which to walk through Java and threaten Felisaz. And if I am placing a naval unit, just reminding, for a ground unit to land here, he needs it to be escorted by a naval unit, so practically the only one that can reach is that guy from Davao, along with some naval unit if he wants to make a landing at Surabaya. Whereas if I had left the Dutch naval unit where it was, it would be much easier for him to land. Now I will be reminding all of these mechanics because the video is addressed to newbie players as well as intermediate level players, so that you can both be reminded of the rules and see some strategic considerations and enjoy a beautiful game. So besides that, I am moving Asia from Tarakan to Batavia for the same purpose, to protect my ports, the ones that are leading to Felisaz, and protect my Abda headquarters for as long as we can. Then we got US Asia, which was here, and we are evacuating this one before Philippines get out of supply. The destination is Biak, and that's for a variety of reasons. This is some space from which you can place zone of influence onto the Fogelkop resource, and also there are some plays of, invading Biak and possibly the rest of New Guinea, or from Biak redeploy the Japanese headquarters here and possibly threaten the whole of Australia. Anyway, for a variety of reasons, I'm placing US Asia here so as not to make it easy for the Japanese to land. Then we've got Kent from Townsville moving to Gili Gili, again to protect some critical New Guinea ports. And the last one could possibly be this one from Colombo. Mr. Herman himself suggests moving it to Dhaka is a good move, and also many players might be tempted to move it to Rangoon so as to defend our CBI theater, which for the most part starts with Rangoon. So yeah, moving it to Rangoon would make an amphibious assault onto Rangoon much harder for the Japanese. But to be honest, I prefer leaving it at Colombo most of the time. The reason is that if the Japanese have got a great hand to take down India, they might even make an easy landing on Colombo and place some Zoi onto Madras and possibly take down my air forces and place some Zoi over Calcutta. And then this is game over for India. If the Japanese manage to destroy these air forces which provide my zone of influence and then manage to take down Rangoon and Akyab and land at Colombo and place some Zoi onto Madras, then the SIAC headquarters is out of supply along with all of my CBI units. and India will fall. So for reasons like this, I prefer leaving it at Colombo. Now let's see how the Japanese player starts their offensive operations. So the Japanese player starts with Battle of the Coral Sea, Operation Mo, which is a good military event, as we have discussed. There's a logistic value of 5, albeit with the restriction that only one ground unit may be activated. They have some defense strength increased by 2 for their carrier naval units, which is not really relevant. I'm not going to put down that much of the resistance right now, but it might have been better later on. Now, logistic value of 5 plus the efficiency rating of the headquarters means 8, since as we see he has opted to activate his combined fleet headquarters, Mr. Yamamoto. So 5 plus 3 makes 8, and let's see what these 8 activations will be. This one from Peiping, also this one from Tokyo, the 16th Army from Davao, along with Zuiho to attempt the amphibious invasion. Next he is activating Congo from Cameroon, also Nazi from Davao, this one Air Force from Saigon, and Nagato from Kure. Now let's see what he's doing with all these 8 activations. So Nagato moves to Singapore. You will notice this is 15 hexes. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's an easier way to do that. So if you notice, Nagato could have moved down here, which is 1 hex, and now this is all the way straight diagonally from this hex to Singapore, and this is the 34 column and this is the 20 column. So yeah, this is like straight 14 hexes plus 1 from Kure to this one. So yeah, Nagato can reach Singapore, because this is again for naval units the OC value of the card, which is 3 times 5. So Nagato is declaring a battle onto Singapore. This will be battle aid, and he is also adding to that the 20 value of this Air Force from Saigon. Now the next 2 units will be Congo and Zuiho, targeting my air forces at Shilashap. And we've got Nazi making the aforementioned amphibious landing onto Surabaya, accompanying the ground unit. Now normally he would have to use an amphibious shipping point to do that. Jules forgot that here, but we are going to fix that later. So 1 amphibious shipping point to land at Surabaya with this army. And now we've got this unit from Peiping traveling to Philippines to attack our MacArthur units, and also this one from Tokyo. So this is practically 4 battles with 2 units on each. And now it's our turn to react. So first of all we have to roll for intelligence. So how does this work again? His value for intelligence, if this card is played as event, is 7, and we've got a +2 because he has moved into our zone of influence. So unless we roll a 9, which is always failure, our intelligence will be successful and we will be able to intercept, no surprises. And we are rolling a 4 in this case, so we can react, no worries. In order to react, we have to select 1 headquarters that is in range of at least 1 battle hex. In this case it will be Abda. And the maximum activations it can use, it's 4 because of its 1 efficiency and the 3 value of the Japanese card, so a total of 4. We are activating Asia and bringing it into the fray, and we will also be activating the Dutch Air and the Malaya Air unit. Now what's the whole point of this? As you might notice, his odds are overwhelming at both Singapore and Manila, and there is little we can do to prevent the naval landing at Surabaya, because we have no real naval units strong enough to oppose this landing. The only one we had spare from battles was this US Asia. So the only battle we can practically oppose is that one at Shilashap. Here he has brought Congo and Zuiho with a total of 21 attack factors. If you notice, this is 13 plus 8, so a total of 21. And we are defending here with our DATS air unit of 9 defense. So if he rolls a full times result, he can eliminate our DATS air unit, which is something we definitely do not want to happen. This is a very useful unit early on. So that's why I'm bringing in my US Asia naval unit. So now if he rolls a full result of 21, he has to first take down one step of DATS air, reduce it, which is 9 factors, plus 4 for the US Asia, which is a total of 13. And then with his remaining 8, he cannot fully eliminate our DATS air unit. Plus, if we roll decently enough, we can add up our 7 plus 2 attack value to deal one important step to Zuiho early on. So why not? Now, the reason I also activated the air units is the following. First of all, let's remind that I can move those out of the battle hex, but they will still have to participate in the battle. This would be a meaningful move if he did not have the air parity. So for example, if it was only Congo on Shilashap, if I move this air unit out, he cannot hurt my air unit. He can only do that with a rangeless unit if the enemy ranged unit is in the battle hex. If I move it out, he cannot deal a damage to it. In order to deal damage to a ranged unit outside the battle hex, he needs an equal number of ranged units, which he has got in this case in the name of Zuiho. And same for Singapore, he has an air unit from Kota Baru targeting our air unit, so whether I move this unit out or not makes no real difference. The reason I activate those is that in case they were lucky enough to survive, I can move those out by post-battle movement and practically do some reposition for free during his card play. So now let's see how this goes. We've got a battle A here, he's got 40 factors, and he's rolling a half times result. Let's remind ourselves how this works. In the air naval combat table, 0 to 2 is 1/4, 3 to 5 is 1/2, 6 above is 1, and the natural 9 is a critical hit. So his 4 means 1/2, which is enough in this case. He's got 40, so half of that is 20. And I remind those fractions are rounded up. So 20 means he can deal 2 times 9 and he can eliminate our air unit, but not before we roll a critical hit, which means the following. Since we were mathematically unable to deal a hit with our attack factor of 6, because this is a critical hit, we shall deal 1 hit to his unit with the lowest defense strength, which in this case will be this elite air force, a painful loss to the Japanese early on. So this one suffers a step and of course our unit is eliminated. Now let's go to battle B. In this case he's rolling a 5, which is a half times result, and we're rolling a 1/4. Now our 1/4 with a total strength of 9 does nothing, but his half times result of 21 divided by 2, which results in 11, is enough to deal 1 step of damage to our air unit, and that's what he shall do. Now let's go to battle C. Now this is an amphibious assault, and first we resolve the air naval combat part. We've got only 3 attack, which is insufficient to damage Nazi unless we roll a critical hit, which we didn't, and he is rolling a 1/4 result, which is insufficient to hurt our DATS naval unit either. So, because at the end of the air naval combat he has been left with more attack factors than ours, this means the naval landing is successful. So we proceed to the ground combat, which would be the case if we had any ground units here, but since we don't, his amphibious assault is automatically successful and he gains control of Surabaya, and we have to get the hell out of here by emergency naval movement. So Surabaya is Japanese controlled, 5 resources for the Japanese. I remind the Japanese start with 2 resources for Manchuria and one for Korea, a total of 3, and they have also acquired Miri during 1941. So this will be the 5th resource out of the 14 there's on the map for the Japanese. Now we are proceeding with our reaction post-battle movement. The reaction player conducts his post-battle movement first. I'm moving this air unit to Palembang out of Java, and also USAsia back to Batavia, and the Dutch air unit to Felisaz to prevent any possible amphibious landing that are unescorted onto Felisaz. So time for the Japanese post-battle movement. He is moving Zuiho to Surabaya to stay there for good. And as Jules correctly is reminding me here, we shall also resolve the battle D in Philippines, in which case he's got 40 attack factors, which automatically can kill my FIAF air forces, even if he rolls a quarter result. And I can only deal damage to him with my 4 factors if I roll a natural 9, which is a critical hit, which is what ended up happening. I did roll a critical hit, and I dealt a step loss to these elite air forces. So, with a lot of losses for the Japanese, they have managed to secure Philippines. Secure some unneutralized zone of influence over Manila, and they're post-battle moving Nazi to Miri. Usually, as the Japanese, you want to move these CA or CL or APD units along with your SN brigades, because as we have mentioned, you can use those as an organic naval transport amphibious assault, and not have to use amphibious shipping points. So this is always a move that you would like to do as the Japanese. Nagaro is also moved to Miri, and we've got the air forces there to take our Singapore out of supply, and also some post-battle movements here and there. Now we are resolving the out of supply situations. Funnily enough, Surabaya is barely in supply for the Japanese, because if you count from the south headquarters, you cannot cross these sea areas, because this is unneutralized allied zone of influence. But this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 hexes for the Japanese through here. So they can barely reach and supply Surabaya, which means Zuiho has its zone of influence normally. Now these ones, the Australian ones, have no Commonwealth unit to control them early on, so it is intended that they are out of supply at the start of the game. The Dutch guys all around here are out of supply, and we've also got the Philippines, or the Americans in Philippines, out of supply right now, and also this one at Medan. And lastly, it's worth mentioning that these ones are in supply. The reason is the following. Although Zuiho is putting an unneutralized zone of influence onto Abda and the Felisaz, we can trace overland to Batavia from Felisaz, because as I will remind you, the zone of influence does not impact the land hex sites, so I'm tracing overland from Felisaz to Batavia, and from there we can trace out to the map edges. No worries, so all this is in supply. So first allied accent for the game. We shall be using our China offensive guard for operations, and let's see which one headquarters we are activating. It will be the Abda one, so the total of activations allowed would be 1 for Abda plus the 2 for the China offensive OC value. So this is the Dutch air plus the Australian ground unit. So this will be my 2 activations. Now it's interesting to discuss what happened here. During my post-battle movement, I moved my Dutch air unit to Palembang, so I can directly use its zone of influence to determine that this one is in supply in Malaya, which would otherwise not be the case if this zone of influence was unneutralized. But because I have zone of influence here, Malaya is in supply for now, so I can activate these Australian ground units. So since Malaysia is kind of a lost cause, I'm repositioning this one ground unit, which is a fairly strong one, the Australian division, and I'm taking it out from Malaya and onto Rangoon which is a location I do wish to protect against future Japanese expansionist plans. So I am strategically moving those. I remind you, strategic move is the other form of naval move for the ground units. In this case, you don't expend amphibious shipping points, and the movement allowance is as if they were naval units. So the OC value of the card, which is 2 times 5, is 10. But because they're moving from port to port, just like naval units, strategically, the whole of this is doubled. So 20 hex is allowed. And if you start counting, all this journey is within the 20 hexes allowance. So I will be landing those to Rangoon. Of course, I cannot cross any unneutralized Zoe, so we cannot travel through here, but we can do the round trip and land to Rangoon. And then I will be repositioning my air unit to Taluk Betung. The reason I'm doing that is because, otherwise he could be able to land at Palembang and conduct both the air-naval combat to destroy my air unit and the ground combat to take the resource of Palembang. So why not having the Japanese expend as many battle hexes as possible, which is not necessarily going to be the case if they lack the military events to declare many battle hexes. Maybe they only have cards that can be used as OC, in which case they are only allowed 1 battle hex. So Japanese card play number 2, and Malaya is officially out of supply now. The Japanese play the Battle of Santa Cruz as an event, which is another good new military event. The logistic value is 4. You can activate any headquarters for that, but only air and naval units may be activated, and in this case the aircraft carrier naval units of the Japanese have an attack strength of +2 for the duration of the offensive, which might prove to be valuable. So Yamamoto is activated again, which is the coolest thing you can do early. He's got an efficiency rating of 3, plus the 4 logistic value. He's got 7 activations to play with. So the one from Taihoku, Tainan, Nagato, Ryujo, Kongo, the 4 AD from Nagoya, and the 1 AF from Kure. And let's see how Jules is using those. So this one moves to battle A, and as you can see, its range of 3 is enough to attack our air unit without even getting in our zone of influence. Now Bangkok will attack towards Rangoon, our air unit here, which will be the first step in order to continue his expansion. So one more air unit to Bangkok. Okay, Nagato will be joining this battle aid onto Taluk Betung. Congo to Shilas up then. Now there will be some juggling here on Jules' part. Let's see how his activations will end up being resolved. So this is the end result. Jules decided against moving Nagato to Taluk Betung. He will be using that to hurt our Colombo. So if you notice closely, it started from Miri. So 15 hexes are just enough to reach Colombo and attack our Exeter to possibly eliminate it. We've also got Battle A, which will be this air unit attacking from its extended range of 4 towards our air unit at Taluk Betung. We've also got these air units attacking Rangoon. Here we've only got 1 air unit, and he has got 16 plus 16 for a 32, plus 10 more from this hex, because this is extended range of 4, so his total attack factors are halved. So 32 plus 10 equals 42, which will be enough to possibly eliminate our air unit. We've also got like Battle C, as we previously noted, and the last one will be this one with Mogami against our Dutch air unit, and Battle E, Nazi versus US Asia. Let's see how this goes. First of all, again, we have to roll for Intel, and since again he used this card as an event, we only need not to roll 9, which we didn't, so we're good to go. So we are doing some maneuvering here. We use the SIAC headquarter to react, because there are battle hexes in its range, and because this is 3 OC value card, we are activating this guy to use his movement allowance of 3 by ground in order to join this battle hex, we are also activating this air unit, and we do just that. We use this Indian guy to reach Rangoon, because as an activated unit in reaction, he has to reach the battle hex. And now you might be asking yourself how he was able to do that. It doesn't matter that we are not actually going to have a ground battle here. It will be just an air-naval combat among all these units. But regardless, we can move our ground units here, take advantage of his card to do this reposition in reaction without expending our own card. So this road has not yet been built from Imphal, so the movement cost from here to here is 2 movement points, plus half to here and half to here, because there is no enemy ground unit among either of these hexes. So we can use our 3 movement allowance, because his card is of a 3 also value again, to reach Rangoon and possibly set up our defenses. I'm also activating this one, so in case it survives, I can post-battle move it elsewhere, and let's see how this goes. Now, this is battle A, the one here, he's got 10, and he's rolling the full times result that he needed, again on a roll of 7. So he was halved, as we have discussed, so 10 is enough to destroy our DATS unit. And we do not roll a critical in this case, so no damage to him, so this one is eliminated. Now, battle B, which is at Rangoon, he's rolling a critical, which is just the full times result in this case, and we're rolling a 5, so no damage to him. So full times result of 42, and he's destroying our air unit. Now, my comment here is that I was tempted to bring possibly more air units to join this battle and possibly deal 1 step of damage to his units, but this would just have resulted in the destruction of this air unit, so I'm glad I played that one safe. Now battle C, he's rolling a 9 and I'm rolling at 8, and if it had be the other way around, I would again have rolled the critical and damaged the Nagato. But in this case, no damage is dealt to him, and he manages to eliminate Exeter. Now let's go for battle D, Mogami against our DATS. No critical on our part, a full times result on his, and the DATS is suffering 1 step. And let's go for battle E, Nazi versus our US Asia. He's rolling a quarter, which in this case is not enough. It would be like 2.5. rounded up to 3, and we are again doing nothing to him. Japanese post battle movement, Nagato back to Miri, Mogami back, Nazi, and the air forces. And now this is a tricky rule which regards the Burma Road. I will be reminding that in order for the Burma Road to be open, there has to be a clear path from Kunming to Rangoon, and then to the map edge by sea, or alternatively from Kunming through these constructed roads to Madras, and from Madras to the map edge. So in this case, my path from Rangoon to the map edges is blocked, because if you notice closely, this one is unplayable hex side, and this one as well cannot be used. So the only path from sea would be this one, and with a neutralized Zoe here, this means the Burma Road is closed, which has a number of implications. First of all, Kunming is not a supply source. This one road cannot be used for movement, so these one units are out of supply, the Chinese ones. And because the Burma Road is closed, these units will also be out of supply. The reason is they cannot be supplied by sea from Siak through here. This is unneutralized, not allowed. And in order to be supplied through land, they would have to be within 4 movement points distance of a supply eligible port, or Kunming if this is a supply source. As we have discussed, Kunming is no more a supplied source, and Rangoon is not a supply eligible port because this cannot be supplied by sea, and this is not within 4 movement points of any headquarters, because this would be like 1, 3, 5 in this case. This would not be the case if these roads were constructed. This would be like half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5 points. So until I construct these roads, Rangoon is not supply eligible. So these units are out of supply as long as the Burma road remains closed. So allied card number 2 will be using my first pass. My comment was like the only thing we can do is pray for no more military events on the Japanese side. So my wish is granted, and he's playing Battle of the Philippine Sea as 3 OC for operations. So this means we're using this OC value, not some logistic value, and he can only declare 1 battle hex in this case. So let's see how Jules is using this one. He is activating Yamamoto again for a total of 6 activations. So he's activating the one guy from Hakodate, plus this one, the Eastern District Army from Tokyo, and also his whole Kidabutai mobile unit, which is Hiei, Soryu, Akagi and Shokaku, the ones that had attacked Pearl Harbor earlier on. So he's using some amphibious shipping points, a total of 3 here, because this is 1 for this ground step that is landing at Atokiska, and also he's moving these units to attack Midway, and he's also using the other 2 amphibious shipping points for a landing from Tokyo onto Midway. This is within the range of 15 hexes, as you may notice. This is the 37 column and this is 51. So now let's break this down, what happened and why. First of all, his naval units are really strong here. I can possibly react with my 2 carriers from Oahu, and possibly this long-range bomber and New Orleans, but this would be risky and possibly not enough to deal enough damage. So he's also using these amphibious shipping points, first to land to Atokiska, which I will remind, if he can hold for 3 consecutive national status segments, he will gain 1 political will. And also Midway counts for Hawaii occupied, if he can hold it for 2 turns. So that's why he's rushing those for political will. So one more thing to note is that this guy will be out of supply, because he's much further than 13 hexes from combined fleet. But we guess Jules is not gonna bother all too much, because he just wants this unit to survive until the end of the 1 turn right after this one. So if he loses 1 step now and 1 step in the next turn, that's all good. He can establish control at Midway for 2 turns and then die peacefully. So in that case, I'm using this 10 attack value of my air forces and adding the 4 attack value of this air unit, the long range bomber. I'm moving it here, so it is within range of 6 in order to participate in this battle. So with a total of 14, we can hopefully roll a full times result and deal 1 step of damage. In this case, he's rolling 0 and I roll 2, so 1/4 times result for both players. He's got like in this case 14 plus 10 plus 12 for a total of 36, plus the 17 of Hiei for a total of 53. So the quarter of that is like 13 point something, which is rounded up to 14, which is enough to deal 1 step of damage. And of course our quarter result is insufficient to deal any damage. So he decided to hurt this one unit of ours. And in this case I will be returning this to Kauai. I'm reminding this airfare cannot be the final destination, it can only be used as a stepping stone for movement. Now in this situation I decided to post-battle move this one, long-range bomber, through Midway and onto Wake Island, which was or ended up being the most questionable move of the game, possibly. I decided to relocate my long-range bomber here to possibly use it aggressively later on and, you know, deal some critical hit of damage, or possibly, who knows, keep some of his units occupied while I do other operations. But I'll tell you what, the allies are not allowed to play that aggressively early on. I risk this and I'm going to pay for this, and spoiler alert, I will be suffering for the rest of the game because of this move. Now the other thing to note is that I don't really mind trading air unit steps as the allies, because as you may notice, the allies have like 5 air replacements every turn, so they can trade steps and then replenish those, contrary to what happens with the Japanese. So midway is now Japanese controlled, so his post-battle movement will be his naval units onto Truk and Enivetok. These are some good zone of influence placements here, so that I can not land unopposed later on, and he's in raids of whatever battles are going to happen. So let's see how this goes. Allied play number 3, so we shall keep passing for now, nothing too crazy to do. Let's wait and see what this guy is doing before doing our own moves. So Japanese play number 4, and in this case he's using Indian worker strike as operations. This is a political event, which would be cool if India was about to fall, you know, fully occupied, and this would accelerate the fall of India, but now this is not playable. He could actually use the bonus to make me lose 1 ground replacement step and some other stuff, but this is not the biggest of deals right now. He wants to make some progress and he wants to do it now. And this is the time he's activating again his Kido Butai, and will use all these to possibly deal some damage to my navy. So this one guy from Kotabaru expends 1 amphibious shipping points to land at Teluk Betung. Also Ryujo from Davao will reach Teluk Betung to render my headquarters fully out of supply, because now, as you can see, there is unneutralized zone of influence all around. Now one detail to that is that you know, this one will be under Japanese control at the end of the offensive, not right now, so Ryujo cannot reach here per se, unless it conducts a battle towards here, which he cannot because this is a military event. He will declare his battle hex elsewhere, but Ryujo can be activated and you know, post-battle move itself later on onto Teluk Betung, which will be Japanese controlled at the end of the offensive. So again, zone of influence all around. And now let's see what's his main goal with these activations, which is Hiei, using its movement allowance of 15, can reach Oahu and attack our navy, along with the rest of his Kido Butai, Akagi, Soryu and Shokaku. So again, these can reach all the way to here, and from here they can use their range of 3 to attack Oahu. So now it's time to pay for our reckless move of redeploying a long-range bomber here. Now we don't have enough protection for our Enterprise and Lexington carrier units, and if he manages to roll 14 points of damage, he can deal 4 steps of 12 hits and sink both of those, which is again -1 political will for the allies, and most importantly, they are not easily replaceable like air units, and it will be really troublesome for the allies to make progress without these units later on. Okay, so this is Pearl Harbor Volume 2. So let's see if we pay for moving the long-range bomber. Our intelligence in this case is 7, which is barely enough because the OC value intelligence is 5 plus 2 for moving into our zone of influence, so barely enough to react. We are activating these units, which we cannot meaningfully move anywhere, but okay, we did not activate this one because you know, this does not make any difference attack factors wise. We've got like a total of 30 factors, which is enough for the steps we want to deal. So he's rolling a 6, which is a full times result, and we're rolling a quarter. So in this case, as we mentioned, Enterprise and Lexington can both be eliminated, and that's about it. and we cannot do anything to him because the quarter of 30 is like 7.5 rounded up to 8, which is insufficient to deal any damage. So yeah, this was a lucky strike indeed, and he's post-battle moving his units there. Now time for the allied play number 4. Now with the Pacific Ocean all but lost, our next point of concern is the CBI theater, the one that is currently holding. And in this case I'm using Hurricane Task Force as an event, which is logistic value of 3 for the SEAC headquarters. Doesn't really matter, I don't have that many activations. I want to just redeploy my air unit elsewhere. And the final destination will be Calcutta. Now I'll tell you why this is done, because otherwise if he uses his carriers or naval units, he could reach my air unit here and possibly eliminate it. And if during the rest of the turn he manages to place the unneutralized Zoes from Akyab and from Colombo, my SEAC would be out of supply and India would be guaranteed to fall. So I'm moving this one to Calcutta, which, as you can see again, is beyond this border. It belongs to mainland India, and the Japanese cannot attack this here, albeit only from range. So nothing more meaningful to do as the allies early on. Now, Japanese card play number 5. These units are out of supply once more, and he's playing his code chains card as operations, which is 1 plus whichever efficiency he chooses to use. So yeah, his comment is that he doesn't think I will attack this turn, so he is expanding his reaction card, which would otherwise be useful for reaction. So he's using Yamamoto, so the total number of activation is 4. So 19th Army plus the 1 Air Force from Davao and the 1 unit from Miri, which is Nachi, and also the 1 AF from Kure. These are the 4 activations. This one will be strategically moving here, 2 legs, the OC value times 2, because this is strategic movement. Now he will be using this amphibious shipping point to attack Tarakan. The movement allowance is 5 for this amphibious assault, because it is the OC value times 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and he can amphibiously assault. And he will also be using Nachi, as well as this Air Force from extended range, but this doesn't really matter. So I'll tell you what happens here. First of all, of course, I do not have any in supply headquarters to react to this, but let's see how the ground combat will work in this case. There is no air-naval combat, of course, because I do not have any air or naval units here. This is only the Dutch garrison trying to hold. So because this is a mixed terrain, he's got a -2 because I'm defender in mixed. But because he's the only one with naval units in the battle hex in the name of Nachi, he has got like a +2 and a further +2 because he's the only one with active air or carrier units for this battle. So a net total of +2. So in this case, because of how the ground combat works, if he doesn't roll a 0, but he rolls anything else, he can at least deal a 1 times result, which is enough with his 9 attack factors to eliminate the Dutch garrison. And of course, no matter what I roll, even at 2 times, is insufficient to deal any damage. We just want him to roll a 0 in this case, otherwise Tarakan will fall. And he is resolving, and of course he's rolling a 0. This was all pre-planned. So the 19th Army will back up, Nachi will back up as well. Now with that said, we can justify Jules' mistake here because of his frustration, but the army cannot post-battle move here, because it is not like returning to where you came from. This is just a post-battle movement like a naval unit, so this unit has to end up at a friendly port. So my comment is that he could have possibly landed at Balikpapan, which is a jungle hex, which has got a -1 for the defender, and this would be automatic. But to be honest, with 5 hexes of movement allowance, this is just 1 hex too far, so that's why. Then this one is not a port, so post-battle movement is not allowed there, so I repositioned that guy to Davao. And now I'm playing as future offensive. The only move I saw making some sense here is saving Operation Brewer, which is a surprise attack, but only if we use MacArthur, the Southwest Pacific headquarters, to do that, which is currently out of supply, but possibly in the future we might be able to mount a surprise counterattack back, who knows. So Japanese card play number 6. He will be using the Tainan air unit for operations this time, a poor 1 OC value card again, which is not ideal for the Japanese early on, and usually this is a good card to bring in some strong reinforcements later on, but again he wants to make some progress and he wants it now. So Yamamoto again, 19th Army again, the 1 Air Force from Davao, and also Nazi and the 25th AF from Tinian. So he's moving to Balikpapan to retry his amphibious assault. The 23 AF will join from extended range of 5. This is 4 hexes, just to provide the modifier. And also Nazi will join, and the Saipan will be moving further on to play some zone of influence here. Actually, he decided against that and decided in favor of activating this Air Force and move this to Okinawa and then Philippines. Okay, so this time this is automatic, and my garrison at Balikpapan will be eliminated, so some postal movements here and there. Now I will have to correct Jules once more, because since Nachi started at Miri and with a movement allowance of just 5 hexes, this is barely insufficient to reach Balikpapan, so this would have to be another unit, and the only one that could have done this is Mogami with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This could have assisted Balikpapan, so no big deals, this would be automatic. So let's correct him as well for not using the amphibious shipping point. Again, this is 1 amphibious shipping point per step of ground unit expended, so 1 more for this 1 step for the reduced army. The only exceptions are the Korean army, which is 2 per step, so a full Korean army would be like 4 amphibious shipping points to use. And also the organic transport, as we mentioned. If we use the essence stacked with a CA or CL or ABD unit, this is for free, no amphibious shipping points required. So it's a total of 7, because again at the start of the turn we had forgotten the one for Surabaya. Now we shall be using our 2 value card for nothing else but redeploying MacArthur. I will remind you that we can discard a card of any value to redeploy any headquarters out of the map, which is out of supply in this case. So I will be putting MacArthur there, ready to be redeployed as reinforcements on turn 3. And of course, one of the reasons I would like to do that, besides MacArthur is useless here, is that I've got this card that can be used for a surprise attack if I use MacArthur for that. So yeah, I'm posting a funny question here about Operation Romulus. This is only for SIAC HQ, and it indicates that only Commonwealth and Chinese units plus US air units may be activated, which however is the case anyway for Commonwealth headquarters. So I'm asking myself why does this text even exist? Maybe a previous version of the card, who knows? Hopefully if Mr. Mark is watching the video, he might provide us a definitive answer to that. And we are finishing off with Japanese play number 7, which is playing a card as the future offensive. So we have both played the future offensive card, and we are out of cards. So this concludes turn 1. We shall be continuing on the next part, which will be turn 3. Lots of stuff going on all around. First things first, our Manila is out of supply, Singapore is out of supply, Abda is also out of supply. So he will not be facing any serious trouble in achieving his historical objectives. Our CBA theater is holding for now, but it is also out of supply in Rangoon, so lots of losses for this unit will be dealt. Also in turn 3 we are receiving 1 China replacement, which in this case will not be used because Kunming is out of supply itself, so we are losing that as well. And also most importantly, our navy is crippled and we will be losing one political will for the carriers. And if for some reason we had also managed to lose New Orleans and these ships, it will be one additional political will loss. And importantly enough, he has also landed at Arkiska and Midway, which would be two political will as well, one for Alaska and one for Hawaii. So things are getting dire early on. Of course, he was lucky with the hit onto Oahu. And other than that, we are paying for that mistakes here and there. But at least we might be able to hold the CBI this game and hopefully delay him enough. So let me know your thoughts so far, your possible analysis or comments, and stay tuned for the next one. Thank you.